Welcome to Future Ready Live, where we talk about topics that will help CPAs, CGMAs, finance and accounting professionals prepare for change and transformation. I'm your host, Tom Hood, the EVP for Business Engagement and Growth at AICPA CIMA, the largest association of professional accountants, CPAs and CGMAs in the world. Today, we're going to be talking about the future of finance and making the shift to value partner to the business. Joining me is Shifra Kiolsky. She's the SVP, Controller, and Chief Accounting Officer at Discover Financial Services. Shifra, say hello to our audience.
Hello.
We're so glad to have you, by the way. So we're going to get right into it. Now, you recently joined our Future Finance Leadership Advisory Group after we presented a session to your finance team. What were some of the big insights and takeaways from you and the group when we did that session with your global finance group?
Yeah, Tom, it was actually a great session and very well received. There were a number of things that you spoke about that really hit home with our team, and I'll focus on, I guess, three of them that really stood out for us. You had talked about the accelerating technology, the accelerating timeline of technology advancements and the increasing speed of change. And I think anyone with a career in finance or accounting really has experienced that over the course of the last several years, because all of us have had to figure out ways to leverage technology for just getting our daily work done. So whether it's things like electronic work papers or workflow tools or electronic whiteboards to be able to facilitate brainstorming sessions, all of those kinds of things that just enable our daily work. And for our team, that particularly struck a chord because we were also going through a general ledger implementation remote and having to adapt new technology. One of the other things that really struck was the focus on soft skills for finance professionals.
Yeah.
At Discover, we've got a set of behaviors that we embrace and that we live by. And for our finance department, we actually have sort of an add-on where we've said these are some key skills that we should be focused on as finance professionals. And those soft skills, things like communication and storytelling, building relationships, networking, those things are really part of that set of key skills for finance professionals that we focus on. And then I guess the last thing that I'll mention is the notion of a growth mindset and how important that is for the success not only of the individual, but the team as a whole. And you had shared with us a nice way to encapsulate that. The equation of L greater than C squared, where L is learning, and it has to be faster than the rate of change and faster than the competition. And that also really hit home with us.
Yeah, those were like the three big things that they identified in the polling, but that's what you heard from them as well. So tell me a little bit more about the success skills, because it sounds like you all were already on that journey. Because the score, if I remember right, I think I've got it right here in front of me. Let me pull it up a minute, because that was impressive. You, out of all the companies that we've done these sessions with, you are the leading one of everyone in terms of that. We called it Future View. It was a scale 1 to 10.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, 1 to 3 is nothing's changed. We're doing same old Sally. 4 through 6 is we're starting to transform by what we know is possible today.
Right.
That's like implementing technologies that are already here that everybody knows about. But then scores 7 through 10 are where it's described as we're constantly reshaping the way we do things based on what we know will happen in the future. So that's an eye toward future trends to be ahead of that accelerating technology. And your group on a 1 to 10 score scored 7.27. And the average of all the other public companies that we've worked on so far is more like 5.7. So they're like right up kind of close to that boundary, but you popped into that extra net level future. What do you ascribe to that score and that success. You must be doing something that is getting your team very oriented to this future state.
Yeah, I would say there's probably two different tracks of things that have helped shape that future view for our team. And it really focuses on sort of the difference between changing process and changing technology. So at Discover, we've got a management approach. We call it the Discover Management System. And that approach really is focused on delivering value while at the same time finding ways to be more efficient. So get to the value more quickly. And the rollout of that whole concept and management system has been something that is, enterprise wide with a campaign from corporate communications, all sorts of communication and training. And as we brought that system to finance, we put together a team of folks who were core finance professionals and got them trained up to be coaches in this management system so that they could speak our language, meet us where we were, and help reshape our thinking about, to challenge us on where can you stop doing things? What things could you do differently to reach the outcome you're trying to get to? So there was just a whole sort of enterprise-wide push to rethink how we're doing our work. So then also simultaneously, there's the making changes to the tools that we're using. And I would say for our team, part of getting people to think differently really started several years back. Our finance function had been operating very much in if it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of mode. And a few years back, sort of in concert with this, how can we make things more efficient and do things better? We in controllership got to the point where we said the next big efficiency win is really going to come from automating processes, not just, trimming them down or retooling them. And so we launched an RPA program, and we knew at that point we were going to have to be moving into this general ledger conversion journey. And so with RPA, what we did is we said to people, look, tell us the things that you hate doing. What are the mindless tasks that are boring and you can't stand it? And let's get the bots to do it so that you don't have to. And then with the idea that we've got this huge lift coming with the GL program, people started thinking, okay, well, I need to free up capacity for myself. So if I can get the bot to do it, that's great. We launched the program with a pilot where we said, let's get a couple of people who are energetic and enthusiastic and would make good ambassadors, and let's share a win. So we had a team take a basic accounting process that was relatable and easy for people to understand, but also had Discover specific, screenshots and technology, things that people could see and know, like, this is my stuff. And so we had that team automate a process. We put together a video to show a human doing it side by side with the bot doing it so that people could see, again, a process they understand and know, and it's familiar to them, and have their friends telling them, look how cool this is. And so it was those kinds of things that really helped us spur the thinking for people and get people excited. And I think that had a huge impact on, our finance organization as a whole, really becoming more digitally ambitious and having that view to the future and what is possible.
Yeah. Wow. That's so you just laid out a whole game plan for someone to think about this, because what we've heard consistently is, especially in finance and accounting organizations, the place to start is automating some of those intense processes, and RPA, robotic process automation, the tool of choice to begin to do that. So it sounds like by doing that, you really did set your group up for the next journey, which is probably even a bigger journey, right, which is your general ledger conversion. So tell us where you are in that journey and how much is left to do?
Yeah, so we actually went live with our new GL in January. And so we are at the point now where we're looking for ways to optimize. And now that people have had, half a year of getting used to actually operating in the new technology, what are the next things that we can do to make things even better?
So any list of what a couple of those things, examples of any of those things that you can talk to?
So there's definitely a whole group of people who are looking at standardized reports and ways that we can streamline and simplify the reporting process.
Yeah.
Having a single multi-purpose report instead of 27 different things that people are pulling, having things push out instead of people trying to, drop things into Excel. So those are some of the things that we're focused on right now. We've also got on our planning side, so our FP&A folks are looking at ways that they can change their processes to really make the most use and take advantage of the technology.
Very cool. So feeding the new GL stuff into the FP&A system so that you've got the most up-to-date data going into your forecasting and such.
Yes, and some of the tools that we have, like some of the tools that we're using have capabilities that we've just not yet explored.
Yeah.
And so it's really about also learning what else is available to us that can help us be more efficient.
And so that is another key point. But you're like, if I had a checklist on finance transformation, you're like hitting it all, Shifra, on this, which I kind of suspected after we did that session with your group. The point about, thinking ahead of what's possible. Like I talk to people all the time about, have you ever just looked into your Excel today and how many features do you use versus how many features there are? Because every month there's like another batch. So, people say I use like 15 major functions and I'm like, there's like 8,000 in there, right? So the same thing. You're looking at this big enterprise level and going, we're just tapping the surface of what's possible. Once we get the full conversion over, and that's working, now it's at a whole nother level to take it to the next step, right?
Yeah, I would also say that, we never knowingly stepped into a program for finance transformation. It was more about solving problems and figuring out how to leverage technology to our advantage. So it wasn't like a conscious undertaking, but we are absolutely in the middle of it.
Yeah, but again, I love that though. You said, because the goal was about the business, right? The goal is about getting better at finance and helping the business. Thus, the idea of the value partnering idea. So it's not finance transformation for transformation's sake.
Right.
It's about accomplishing a real business objective, which it sounds like you're on the way to doing.
Right, and that management system that I talked about, that concept really is, how do you deliver value more quickly? And so how do we as finance professionals partner better with the business to help drive our enterprise goal of being, a leading payments enterprise and a leading direct bank.
Yeah, that's fascinating, which also gets to, I know we talked about some of the top skills that are needed. Your group ranked collaboration pretty high, which I think, so tell me about that. Like, what's that mean to your team at Discover?
Yeah, one of the things that you had shared in that session was sort of a ranking of things that are critical to success in transformation. And the people element of it was 80% of things, right? It was the mindset, it was the communication, the collaboration. And we really found, you had to be able to raise issues as we were going through the GL implementation, right? Everybody's in different places and we're figuring out ways to work together. It was so important to be able to have open channels of communication and to have people be able to point things out to each other and to come together on what are the tasks that need to get done, who's at what point in things, where can somebody else help out. All of that problem solving together was just super valuable to being able to get to a successful conclusion.
Yeah. So I think, you're just nailing it today. This is like spot on. So this idea of collaborating and communicating, which is one of the top ones when we talk about boundary crossing skills in our T-shaped thing model, that's a big one. So it is fascinating how much that you remember that 80% people part for transformation.
Oh,
We
yeah.
all tend to think I was guilty of this too. I would say, let's put the technology in and then we'll figure out the rest. But without that focus on people and the skills, mindset of probably most important. So your mindset was a conscious effort to take the Discover senior leadership mindset and move that down into the finance team, probably and across the organization, I guess, right?
Yes, and definitely across the organization. A project of that size and scale is not something that is, exclusive to finance. And that collaboration was not just within our own team, that was across the enterprise, all of the different people we had to work together with to make it successful. And really emphasizing, celebrating when we saw people behaving in the ways that were going to help us be successful, celebrating that, recognizing folks for the things they were doing, were a huge part of the overall effort.
Yeah.
Like really focusing on the people. We made a point also of making sure that we could help people keep a fresh mindset and stay positive by making sure that there were blackout periods where people could take vacation and completely disconnect, by making sure that we were responsive when people were surfacing issues and feeling stressed out. We also, I would tell you, our dirty little secret is we don't think we would have been as successful if people were working from the office instead of working from home, because we had the advantage of, you could get up and walk away, go have dinner with your family, go hang out with your kids for a little while, and then come back to things later in a much easier, sort of code switching way than you would have if you were sitting in the office and feeling compelled to stay there till 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah. So that whole remote situation actually worked to your advantage once you figured out how you could leverage it like that.
Yeah. And again, that all goes back to the mindset and helping people stay optimistic and upbeat about the enormity of the work in front of them.
Exactly. So, as you said, you're not done yet. You got through the general ledger transition in January, and now you're looking ahead to what's next. Just tell us a couple of those ideas about what's next as you see coming.
Sure. We are looking from a broader finance perspective. We're looking at our source to pay processes. And right now we have a whole bunch of point solutions along that path. And we're looking at, are there ways to, sort of trim down the footprint for technology and improve the processes, reduce the number of handoffs.
Yeah.
So that's a big one for us. We're looking at a couple of different things to enhance some of our treasury processes and our cash management. And then across our FP&A teams, we're also doing a lot of things to streamline reporting and make information and data more accessible to management. So we're moving to a whole lot of dashboard kind of tools instead of static reports.
Yeah.
And building out that kind of enablement for people to get to data much more easily.
Yeah. So has the intensity of management wanting data from the accounting and finance group, has that continued to increase coming through the pandemic? And now that we're starting to see inflation and some of these other things, are you still seeing that increase? At one point, they said the finance and accounting teams were asked to forecast 30 times more than at any time prior to the pandemic. What's your take on that? Where's that going? Is that still increasing?
I would say that definitely has been a consistent theme for us, where because of the tremendous uncertainty, doing a whole lot more scenario analysis and saying, well, if this, then that, which means you're running things much more frequently. For us as a bank, we're also looking at forecasting losses, forecasting capital. And so there are some additional twists for us or more iterations of things as we do that scenario analysis. And so, yeah, I would definitely agree that there has been an increase in demand for that kind of data and analysis.
Yeah. So this has been amazing. Anything as you look back, what would be a couple of like your big learnings or insights as you think about your journey so far at Discover?
Yeah, so we've talked about the people aspect of things, and I would say it's been a huge learning for us that you cannot lose sight of the people in all of this. I would say in terms of technology, one of the biggest things we learned was don't customize things. Retool your process to fit the technology. Don't retool the technology because it becomes insustainable to maintain that.
Yeah.
So no customization. And then I would say be mindful of the scope and pace of change that your team can handle, and be very clear on defining scope, because it's very easy to get caught up in scope creep and feel like you're not accomplishing things. But if you have a well documented, clearly chartered objective, and clearly draw lines between what's in and what's out, you can stay on track, stay on time. And as things come up, you can make more easy determinations. It's a lot easier for decision making as you go if you're clear on what the end goal is to begin with.
Yeah. Wow. What a great time with you today, Shifra. This has been totally amazing, which I thought it would be. But your a couple of things that stuck out for me was the whole notion of people. Absolutely. That's back to our 80% is people and mindset.
Right.
Skill set, and then the technology is the last piece. I love the fact that you started with taking processes and making them more efficient, the whole RPA notion, critical stuff, and just lots of nuggets here. I think our audience is going to be watching this over and over again to get all the nuggets from what you covered in this. I thank you so much for spending time with us today. And for those of you out there that want to follow her, you can get it LinkedIn. It's Shifra Kiolsky, Shifra Kolsky. And with that, I thank all of you for joining us. And don't miss our other Future Ready Live sessions back on LinkedIn the first and third Tuesday of every month at noon Eastern. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.